Like and subscribe right now, or this spider will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. Around 71% of the world is covered in water, and even if global warming is getting worse, it hasn't melted all of the ice of the world. Many weird and creepy frozen things have been found buried deep in the ice. We have a list of 10 of the weirdest frozen things. Let's get into it. 10. A frozen fox. If you think this is from the animated movie Ice Age, it's not. Sometimes the animals scientists find in ice are more recent, and this makes sense because modern animals can freeze in ice just like those that existed back in the day. And this is the case with certain foxes. Their cuteness, in other words, is not enough to prevent them from getting frozen solid in the ice-cold waters of the Arctic conditions in which they were found. This particular critter was found by a hunter in a German lake. This specimen was not the first found by this hunter. He also claims to have found wild deer and wild boar frozen in ice before this fox. Now, it's not clear whether this is true, but what we do know is that this fox is displayed as an Arctic appendage to a German hotel. It serves as a warning to the dangers of ice.
Before we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that'll take 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. You just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell, and you'll get 25 years of amazing luck. Try it. It really works.
9. Frozen methane bubble lake. They look like flying saucers that dropped into the water and froze, or ancient ice-condensed jellyfish. These icy circles are frozen methane bubbles that are pockets of gas that, when trapped underwater and frozen, form a spectacular landscape. They're found in high northern latitude lakes like Lake Abraham in Alberta, Canada. For a long time, the phenomenon was very shocking to even the scientists, but then it was explained after a lot of research. These gas bubbles are created when dead leaves, grass, and animals fall into the water, sink, and are eaten by bacteria that expel methane. The gas is released as bubbles that transform into tens of thousands of icy white discs when they come into contact with frozen water. It's a stunning but potentially dangerous sight. This potent greenhouse gas not only warms the planet, but also is highly flammable. When spring comes, the time when the ice melts, the methane bubbles pop and fizz in a spectacular release. But if anyone happens to light a match nearby, the masses of methane will ignite into a giant explosion. Curious travelers can see these gassy hiccups in lakes across Canada's Banff National Park or in the Arctic Ocean off Siberia, where researchers have found gas bubbles as large as 900 meters across. 8. Perfectly preserved maiden. This woman frozen in ice may not seem that disturbing upon first glance, but when you hear her backstory and really see the detail in her frozen body, it may send a chill down your spine. This Incan mummy was found over 20,000 feet above sea level on the edge of a volcano, accompanied by what can only be assumed were her children. It's said she was so well preserved that she still had lice in her hair. The researchers and doctors who were examining her were completely freaked during examination, with one even noting the realistic nature of her hands reminding him of a living, breathing human being. It's assumed that her clan sacrificed her to the volcano due to her many illnesses, which included tuberculosis. Since she was so well preserved, doctors were able to conclude her many illnesses, and it even gave scientists the idea about the period of time in which she lived, which was almost 500 years ago. 7. A preserved mummy head. In 2017, archaeologists found mummies buried in the Zelenych Yar burial site near the Russian town of Selekhard. They found 2 mummies, one an adult woman and the other a baby. These mummies are estimated to be 900 years old and are said to be part of an unknown medieval culture. The interesting thing was that the female mummy is the only female in the burial ground, leading some to assume that she was an elite member of society. It's also interesting and creepy because only her head has been preserved. On her head, you can still see her hair and eyelashes, and her face has a green tint due to the copper she was buried in. 6. Frozen lighthouse. Sometimes the cold gets so bad that it freezes the surrounding architecture. This is actually a common occurrence in Michigan. This particular lighthouse is one such entity that lost the battle against the cold. Its spiral staircase is clearly frozen and presumably unmanned. If someone actually had to bear this awful cold, you can assume that they wouldn't have a good time. And that is, unless they had a few slugs of whiskey with them. Either way, this mysterious-looking lighthouse has had to deal with some chilly temperatures, and if it were anything else, it would surely be dead. Maybe there are a lot of dead ghosts living inside. Would you want to visit it? 5. 25-million-year-old Lake Vosstok. In 2012, Russian scientists drilled through more than 2 miles of ice into something strange buried deep beneath the frozen landscape of Antarctica. The exact opposite of ice. Lake Vosstok is the continent's biggest subglacial lake, which sounds like something that shouldn't exist. Even weirder, the research team that pulled samples from the lake found alien life. Well, sort of. According to the BBC, Lake Vosstok has existed in complete isolation for millions of years, and when scientists analyzed the samples, they found bacteria that were completely unlike bacteria we're familiar with. That sounds like the start of a horror movie about unleashing a plague, but the scientists claimed that the samples were tainted by drilling fluids. The same team drilled again in 2015 and the scientific world still wasn't convinced. Maybe the world will get convinced when the drilling results in a plague that kills half the population of the world. They found another mysterious alien sort of bacteria, but they still weren't done. In 2016, new scientists announced that there's another lake buried under the Antarctic sheet, similarly isolated and containing the potential to harbor life forms unlike anything else on Earth. Nothing good ever starts this way. Would you ever want to explore that lake? Four. Ötzi the Iceman. Ötzi was discovered by two hikers, and no matter what cool things happen to you on your vacation, you're never going to be able to top their story. According to the South Tyrol Museum of Archaeology, Erika and Helmut Simon reported him as a victim of a modern mountaineering accident. We know now that wasn't even close to the truth. Ötzi has been studied a lot, and National Geographic reported he's got at least 19 relatives living in the Tyrol area of Austria. We also know he had a tough life. He had advanced gum disease, hardened arteries, gallstones, and high levels of arsenic in his system, and had suffered damage from frostbite. Oh, and he probably had Lyme disease. But most interesting are the findings that showed just how much he had in common with us. The Telegraph reported that he liked his souvenirs too. The axe he carried was from Tuscany, hundreds of miles from where he died. Research done on the contents of his stomach found that his last meal, which was ibex, had been dry cured in a way not unlike the process we use to make bacon. What connects the human race across all times and places? A love for bacon. 3. A deadly virus. Global warming is a phenomenon that causes ice caps to melt. This melting of the ice caps is doing more dangers than we're even aware of. While the overall knowledge is that global warming is negative, the effects are much more drastic. The melting of this ice is revealing new viruses that were frozen in time. Only a few years ago, a few hundred feet under the tundra of Siberia, a deadly virus was discovered, and it's still active. The virus is said to be over 30,000 years old, so there's no known cure for this. The virus was nicknamed the Pathos virus due to its elongated size when examined. The virus is said to be the largest virus on Earth. However, not to worry, this disease won't affect humans but only amoebas. While this isn't a direct concern, this certainly doesn't disprove that there could be larger viruses that are deadly to humans waiting to be freed from their ice chambers. And with that, it's now time for today's subscriber pick. Today's photo was sent to us by subscriber. If you come across a photo online and want to know more details about it, just send it over to us. We might even feature it on a future video. 2. Frozen egg. When the temperature in Minnesota dipped to a chilling negative 27 degrees Fahrenheit, a YouTuber decided to see what would happen if he cracked open some eggs. Of course, like everything else that goes outside during the polar vortex, the eggs freeze. But the outcome is still super interesting to see, considering egg experiments usually take place on extremely hot days and result in fried eggs. If these frozen eggs were 10 times the size, they could pass for pieces of modern art. Maybe the YouTuber should use a pigeon egg. 1. Disturbing fish. And for our first spot, we have the most weird and creepy thing ever found frozen in ice. Some people thought this was fake when it went viral on the internet, but unfortunately it isn't fake, just very, very disturbing. The footage came from two brothers who had been fishing on Indiana's Wawasee Lake when they saw what looked like a pike in the middle of eating a bass. The pair had been frozen in place, and no one on the internet seemed to believe it when they posted a photo. To prove those internet haters wrong, they posted a video of themselves cutting the fish out of the frozen lake. They really had been frozen solid. The best explanation is that the pike choked on the bass, died, and was frozen. Talk about adding insult to injury. That's our list of 10 weird frozen things. What's the weirdest frozen thing you found? Let us know in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.